Hey, it's Mike from Party for Crafts, and today I'm going to be trying something new, and you can learn right along with me. I'm going to be trying to engrave my name on this curved surface, this tumbler that I got off of Amazon. There's a perfect spot there to engrave a name, and we'll see how it goes. I've never used the engraving curved surface process, so give it a shot and let's learn together. Over here in the xTool creative space, there's a curve process selection, and we can select that. And after we do that, we click curve measure, and it gives you some instructions. So we're going to use these arrows to move the laser over. And right now it's moving 100 millimeters with each click. And so 2 clicks and it's already moved over really far. So I'm going to drop that down to 10 millimeters by changing that number. And now when I click it, it moves a lot less. And that'll allow me to align it better. And that's perfect. In the upper left-hand corner of the area where I'm going to engrave, and I'll click vertex 1, which is the upper left-hand corner, and click mark. The laser went dark while I did some measuring. Now I'll move it down to the bottom right-hand corner and then mark again. I'm going to put this on 5 millimeters and go back a little bit. It went a little too far. That should be good. That's right there in the corner. So I'll come back here, click mark vertex 2, and then click next. Now I want to set the measurement density, which is how many measurements it takes to measure the curve, and this is how accurately you want it to do it. So I might go 4 rows. You have to play around with this to see what's a good number. 4 rows and 10 columns. And I'll say start measuring. Come back over here, and it'll be really difficult to see in there, but that red dot is moving and it's taking measurements, and each one of those gray dots on the screen is turning green as it does each measurement. So I'll take you back over there in a second before it's finished. So right now it's measuring the height of each portion of this curve, so it can make a map of it, and then it can engrave on it by moving the nozzle up and down and staying focused. Pretty cool. Normally you'd have to use a rotary to do something like this, or it would come out warped and out of focus, but in this case it's going to keep its dimensions and be in focus the whole time. Alright, it just finished measuring. There's what the surface looks like, which is pretty accurate. If I rotated this around, you'd see that's exactly what it looks like on the cup. Smoothness and tension, I'm not going to touch those because this looks good. I could measure it again if I wanted to, but I do not want to. So there it goes, and I'm going to put my image inside of there by clicking on image and then scrolling down to what I want. It's hard to do this with one hand. And then I'll put it right there. Move it around with the arrows a little bit to get it as centered as possible. And then I'll come over here, and currently it's on score. I want to engrave this, and I don't know what settings to use for something like this. I also had a box around it. I'm going to delete that box, so now it's just the word. And so for that, I want to engrave. I don't know what settings to use, but a CO2 laser can't harm the metal underneath, so I'm going to go really high power and really low speed, and it should work out. This is just a test, so I don't really care how good it looks. I'll put it on 20-ish millimeters per second, the closest I can get with one hand, and 86% power, 100 lines per centimeter. That's a little high. Go 90 and click process. Looks good. That's what I was expecting. And I'll click start. The blue button is on. I'm going to turn off the light so we can see inside a little better. And I'll hit the blue button. Here we go. Okay, so I stopped that because I realized that that part of the tumbler was not metal, that's plastic. It was melting right through it. So I'll do it down below at a lower portion. I'll repeat it. I won't make you watch all that. And then I'll come back and redo the engrave down lower on the part that is actually metal. All right, now we're going to do it again, this time on a metal part of the tumbler. So have the word there, have engrave. I redid the curved surface, got it on manual settings, 8620, one pass, 90 lines per centimeter. Hit process. There's the design. Start. And that fast, the blue button is ready to go. No waiting for processing. And turn the light off. Here we go. Alright, there it is. I'm going to give it a second to cool down, and then I'll check it and make sure it doesn't need another pass, clean it up, and see how it came out. Alright, hold on. In looking at it, I'm not sure that those settings got all the way down to the metal, so I'm going to run another pass. Alright, I told you we were going to be learning together on this project, and let me tell you what we learned. First of all, this handle is plastic, and I should have known that this extension was plastic, but it really looked like metal. It didn't come out too bad. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it's pretty ugly. And then this, my settings were so way too high on this that it even dented the metal. It got so hot. There's a ridge right here. The laser got it so hot that it dented the metal. So don't use power as high as mine. Don't use speed as slow as mine. In the end, around the edges, you could definitely see the metal, and I think the rest of it, I just burned the black into the metal like Surmark spray or something. The laser did exactly what it was supposed to do. The curved surface engrave worked perfectly. It was not the fault of the laser that my settings were wrong and that I engraved on plastic. The xTool P2 curved surface engraving worked perfectly as far as I'm concerned. If I got the settings right, this would be an awesome way to do tumblers without a rotary. So I say thumbs up on the curved surface engrave on the xTool P2. Okay, so now I'm going to take everything I learned in that first video and I'm going to apply it to this tumbler and get it all right. Okay, this time I used some Play-Doh to keep this tumbler from rolling around inside of there. Have it all set up. It should be at a good height, and I'm going to go into the xTool Creative Space and set up the curved surface feature. Okay, I'm doing a bit of a restart because I'm pretty frustrated. I just spent a whole an hour trying to get it to do the curved surface measurement on this tumbler. And then I remembered one of the first tips for curved surface tumblers is don't do it on shiny surfaces. So I've been trying to get it to measure this shiny surface, and it didn't work over and over and over again. Measurement failed, measurement failed, measurement failed. I put the black tumbler back in there. First try, it worked. So once again, my fault, but we're going to be engraving the black tumbler again instead of the shiny blue tumbler. Lesson learned. Okay, here we are. That looks way better. That worked. I'll clean it up and take a picture of it, get it all shiny. I just guessed at the settings again. I did 30 speed and 20 power, and we could probably adjust it from there and get it even better, but I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, here we are back again, and look at that. I am very happy with that. Once I cleaned it with some alcohol, that came out great. Look at that, shiny and chrome, and that came out spectacular. I'm happy with that. This was a journey, y'all. I learned a lot along the way. So some important things that I learned. I used Play-Doh to make sure that this was level and flat and didn't roll around in there. The curved surface process, you cannot do it with a shiny object. This was too shiny. I spent so much time trying to get this to work, and then this worked perfectly. 3 times I got that one to focus. The first time it was plastic, not metal. The second time the settings were way too hot, and the third time came out great. So those are a couple things that I learned. I'm going to try it one more time on this, but with some blue painter's tape on it, so I'm not engraving on the shiny part. So we'll try that and see how that works, see if I can get a nice clear shiny engrave on this one. Okay, so far the blue painter's tape is working. I was able to get the curve measurements, click start, hit the blue button, and here we go. Here it is. It came out. All it took to engrave this shiny curved surface was a little blue painter's tape, some alcohol, cleaned it up at the end, and now it looks good. So it was a journey getting here, trying to do this without doing too much research, without watching a lot of other people's videos. so that you could learn along with me. It was frustrating, but we got it. I think now I could work on how straight this is and how centered this is. I could probably dial in the settings a little bit better, but the next time I engraved on a tumbler, I believe I could get it perfect. So the curved surface process measures the surface. Don't go higher than 30 speed. Be careful with shiny objects. Put painter's tape on them if you have to. And dial in your settings on some practice objects before you do something important. All right, I consider this mission a success. It took us a few steps back, a few steps forward to get here, but we did it. The machine works as expected, and I consider this a successful test. All right, thanks, xTool.